calendar.
As you guys can see here, WNBA Communications. The WNBA Expansion Draft 2026 presented by State Street Investment will be taking place on April the 3rd on ESPN. Oh, let's go. So, the WNBA 14th to 15th.
A complete corporate meltdown is absolutely tearing through WNBA front offices right now. The nice quiet off-season where executives could casually chat about salary caps, that's completely over. League headquarters just delivered the most bone-chilling ultimatum in women's professional basketball history. This is WNBA Pro, where we skip the feel-good network stories and fan wishful thinking. We focus purely on brutal corporate realities, salary cap warfare, and executive survival. Lock your door, silence that phone, and pay complete attention because the WNBA just leaked internal documents that will completely reshape the Eastern Conference.
Goes into detail. It says, in preparation for the expansion draft, each of the existing 13 teams will be required to submit the league office by Sunday, March 29th. The roster list that includes every player to whom the team has rights. Players on the team.
The entire league has been sleepwalking through recent months in complete denial. Everyone got distracted by those endless collective bargaining talks. Indiana's front office smugly thought they had unlimited time to craft their offseason strategy and casually negotiate with their star free agents. Then league executives just detonated a coordinated strategic bomb that obliterated that dangerous fantasy.
See this landmark deal come together.
I mean, it's really incredible. And when you think about the years, I think we've talked about this a lot. This fighting's been going on for so long. I mean, we talk about 30 years of the WNBA being the best, women's basketball league in the world. And this whole time we've just been fighting to be paid like it and to be treated like it. And for a lot of the players that played before me.
Listen to how final and terrifying that official announcement sounds. That specific date needs to burn into your memory immediately. April 3rd isn't some random mark on the basketball calendar. It represents the corporate doomsday clock for the most chaotic and destructive event in modern sports history. The massively funded expansion draft just got its official launch date. Portland Fire and Toronto Tempo are powering up their multi-million-dollar command centers. These aren't your typical cash-strapped WNBA organizations. These are ruthless corporate war machines backed by venture capital. They control billionaire ownership, completely clean salary caps, and explicit orders to execute an immediate hostile acquisition. They're circling the existing 13 franchises like advanced predators, specifically hunting elite championship caliber talent from mathematically exposed rosters. No roster faces more mathematical exposure right now than Indiana's. Let me break down the pure mathematics of expansion draft brutality. You cannot shield your entire multi-million-dollar organizational structure. League regulation explicitly demand massive, painful sacrifices from every single existing general manager. You're legally required to completely expose highly productive, incredibly valuable personnel to open bidding. You must literally serve up your own players to these heavily funded expansion machines. This generates an extremely toxic and volatile atmosphere throughout the locker room. Indiana's front office currently exists in complete executive hell. They control the most watched and profitable offensive system on earth, but they only get a strictly limited number of coveted protection spots. They absolutely must shield their billion-dollar franchise player Caitlin Clark. They definitely must protect their profitable interior foundation, Aliyah Boston. But once those cornerstone pieces get secured, the boardroom calculations turn absolutely vicious. Analyze the pure executive terror created by that particular deadline. March 29th represents the absolute final moment for protected player lists. Indiana's general manager gets exactly 96 hours to make enormous permanent corporate choices that will completely determine their championship timeline. They must ruthlessly evaluate every single contracted player and calculate their precise mathematical worth. If you aggressively shield a highly inefficient volume isolation scorer like Kelsey Mitchell, you deliberately expose elite complementary perimeter defenders like Lexi Hull or Erica Wheeler. If you protect the crucial perimeter shooting absolutely required to maximize Caitlin Clark's dynamic effectiveness, you willingly surrender your secondary offensive creator for zero compensation whatsoever. This defines a corporate kidnapping scenario with absolutely zero clean escape routes. The expansion machines absolutely won't draft worn-out, inefficient bench players. They're deploying sophisticated analytics to locate heavily undervalued, hyper-efficient personnel. They're going to ruthlessly pursue the exact role players that Indiana desperately requires to run their high-speed transition system. If Indiana's management commits even one tiny miscalculation, if they betray their fiduciary duty by protecting some outdated legacy veteran over a high-energy rim protector, Portland and Toronto will instantly rob their championship depth overnight. The front office must complete this enormous restructuring while completely surrounded by mainstream media chaos. Major sports networks are absolutely petrified of examining the actual brutal expansion draft mathematics. They're desperately trying to distract the global audience with sanitized corporate nonsense. While mainstream media plays juvenile games, the real corporate giants move in complete terrifying silence. Let's redirect our analytical attention to the absolute center of the global sports economy. While the league argues over minimum salaries and restrictive roster limitations, the massive international corporate machines are preparing to unleash a financial nuclear weapon on the global sneaker industry. Nike, the undisputed monopolistic king of sports marketing, is currently running a massive top-secret corporate mission. They've maintained complete unprecedented corporate silence about Caitlin Clark's signature sneaker. In today's hyper-connected, attention-driven economy, this level of total information lockdown is mathematically impossible unless it's being deliberately enforced by the most powerful executives on the planet. Listen to the undeniable corporate anxiety bleeding through Ryan Ruocco in that specific moment. Analyze his extreme reluctance with the cold focus of a Wall Street investigator. He's a highly connected, incredibly powerful national television voice for ESPN. He possesses elite classified insider knowledge about the biggest product launch in Nike's history, yet he's completely petrified to share one microscopic detail on public television. He literally stumbles, carefully selects his language, and absolutely refuses to break the corporate information embargo. Why would a major national broadcaster fear simply describing the visual design of a basketball shoe? Because he fully recognizes he's not just describing basic athletic equipment, he's describing a multi-million-dollar weaponized global marketing machine. Nike is deliberately preparing to saturate the global marketplace with a massive, highly coordinated global corporate stimulus injection. They're intentionally starving the consumer base to artificially maximize global demand. Caitlin Clark is generating a massive, completely unstoppable shadow economy that directly enables her to completely circumvent the outdated, heavily restricted WNBA salary framework. She's a complete global corporation trapped inside a point guard's body, and the highly threatened, deeply established veteran power structure is completely frozen by this undeniable truth. They cannot physically match her global market power, so they desperately try to steal credit for the entire financial explosion. This leads us directly to the most offensive, completely delusional victory celebration in recent sports memory. While Caitlin Clark is literally single-handedly dragging the entire professional league out of mathematical insolvency, the legacy veterans are running a massive, highly organized public relations offensive to completely rewrite history. Listen to the pure, unfiltered arrogance pouring from Diana Taurasi in that specific clip. Stop and completely absorb the total delusion of that carefully manufactured declaration. She's positioned in front of a national television audience, boldly claiming ownership of the new collective bargaining agreement. She's proudly declaring that legacy veterans battled for decades to finally achieve this historic financial breakthrough. It represents complete, undeniable, mathematically fraudulent corporate fantasy. Billionaires absolutely never distribute massive, unprecedented generational wealth because you performed in completely empty gymnasiums for 20 years. The actual historically documented truth shows that legacy veterans operated within an outdated, heavily subsidized business structure that continuously demanded massive financial rescues. They produced mathematically meaningless television numbers and severely depressed corporate partnerships. They simply lasted long enough to completely steal the massive economic tsunami created exclusively by Caitlin Clark. She represents the undisputed dynamic force that single-handedly compelled networks to completely tear up their existing agreements. She filled every single venue, obliterated every single television benchmark, and completely transformed merchandising income. The entire financial explosion, the soaring $7 million contracts, and the new Supermax deals are completely exclusively funded by her unprecedented influence. Yet the veteran power structure possesses the pure uncompromising nerve to stare into a camera and demand the recognition. This perfectly defines a corporate leech loudly requesting an executive bonus for the multi-billion-dollar work of the chief executive. But the free marketplace absolutely cannot be manipulated by fake, carefully scripted podcast appearances. Millions of highly engaged consumers observe exactly what's occurring. The polite, heavily subsidized era of the participation award is completely finished and permanently destroyed. The expansion draft approaches rapidly. The March roster protection deadline is actively choking the executives. Indiana's front office currently navigates a massive multi-million-dollar corporate battlefield. While completely surrounded by heavily armed expansion machines, they must ruthlessly abandon highly valuable rotation players. They must mathematically shield their primary billion-dollar personnel, and they must complete this massive restructuring before the greatest product launch in Nike's history completely destroys the global marketplace. Welcome to the pure, unforgiving industrial shredder of the new WNBA macroeconomic landscape. Thank you for watching WNBA Pro, where we completely ruthlessly examine the undeniable reality of the global sports industry. We absolutely never deal in manufactured front office stories or cowardly corporate propaganda on this channel. We focus exclusively on the pure, brutal, uncompromising truth of the underlying calculations. If you want the most ruthless, analytical, and brutally honest basketball analysis on the entire internet, pay attention. Aggressively hit that subscribe button immediately to join the elite tier of informed professionals. Drop a massive like on this content to help violently drive this crucial corporate investigation directly through the algorithm. Share your complete unfiltered analytical perspective on this massive executive crisis in the comments below. Exactly which players will Indiana's front office be mathematically required to abandon in the coming expansion draft? Will they commit fiduciary betrayal and leave an elite perimeter defender completely unprotected? And exactly how explosive will the global marketplace response be when the Caitlin Clark signature sneaker officially launches? Share your detailed, mathematically sound forecasts. See you in the next high-stakes boardroom analysis. Don't even think about looking away, because the corporate war is officially underway, and the weak will be completely abandoned in the wreckage.